Hello farmers and aspiring farmers, thank you for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. Here on our program we cater for everyone, be it a smallholder farmer, commercial farmers, horticultural farmers and those that are into field crops. Today we are going to be looking at an interesting topic. We are going to be looking at Covo production, commercial Covo production. This is a very lucrative venture. If done on a scalable basis, using proper methods and systems in place, you can ensure that as a farmer, every 2 weeks or every week, every 7 days, you are sending something to the market in support of either your tobacco, your grain, your livestock. You have your Covo on the side, whereby you'll be harvesting bundles of Covo every now and then and sending them off to the market. Through Covo production, you can cater for your bills, you can cater for your medical bills, looking at issues surrounding electricity, purchasing your diesel for irrigation, even foodstuffs for your employees in the compound. Today, to discuss this, and I've taken the liberty of inviting Tony Moyo. He is a seasoned horticultural agronomist working in Matebeleland. Tony, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, today we are looking at Covo production here in Zimbabwe. What some Zimbabwean farmers might want to look at and say these are ventures that are low or these are poor ventures, I would want to invest in Covo production. But we do have those farmers who are making a living off of producing Covo, sending something to the market every 2 weeks or every week. As we get into our discussion, a brief background of Covo production. Why is it called Covo? What are we looking at when we say a farmer is into commercial Covo production?
Okay, so firstly, this one is normally called viscose. Most people know it as evergreen.
Okay.
Evergreen Covo. Why is it called evergreen? It's evergreen throughout the year. So that means come rain, come thunder, it's evergreen.
Okay.
As long as if it's getting enough water, it's evergreen. What does it mean to you if it's evergreen? That means you're going to market each and every week. Just looking at this upload that we're in, you can see there are two stages. This stage and that stage. That means that one they've been harvesting for too long.
Okay.
And this one
is still developing, but they're still harvesting.
But they're still harvesting. And if you look at this, there's something that is interesting. I was talking to one of these guys. They are harvesting each and every week from different plots, because it just takes around 2 weeks for you to harvest this thing.
Okay.
So each and every week
they are sending something to the market.
They're sending something to the market. This one and that other one.
Okay.
And you can do that throughout the year. So I think this one is actually more profitable rather than those other crops that you have to wait for 60 days.
65 days, 90 days.
60 days. Also, when you are looking at the cost of maintaining this crop,
it's a low-hanging fruit.
Yes. You just need to just spray it. I always tell people that when I come to your field, the only pest that I can find is an aphid.
Yes.
And if I find an aphid, I'm not coming back into your field, because a chemical that controls aphids costs $2.
Cheap. Yes.
Or even $1.
Okay.
So you can't tell me that you are harvesting 1,000 bundles from this area and you are failing to control aphids.
Yeah.
Which is the main problem that you might find in this evergreen
enterprises.
And the other thing that is interesting, this Covo doesn't have seeds.
Okay.
So that means you have to maintain that crop so that you can keep on reaping, you can keep on getting suckers from the same crop.
And planting new areas.
Yes.
Okay.
So that means if you relax on it, that means you're going to lose your source of what?
Of income.
Yes.
And seedlings. Okay. Okay. Now, Tony, that was very detailed and very interesting. Looking that most of our Zimbabwean farmers might overlook Covo production. This one or whatever. But you're telling us here that it is a low maintenance crop with chemicals costing as low as $1 or $2. You can get your chemicals to control the aphids. Now, I want us to look at the lifespan of a Covo plant. You said that you can be harvesting throughout the year. I want us to look at the lifespan of a Covo crop, number one. Number two, I want us to look at the kilograms that you are expecting, or the number of bundles, but maybe putting it in grams, grams measurements. What are we looking at? One plant throughout the year. Ringa kupama kgs mangan or mabanduru mangan. Uye unga harvester in what intervals of your crop?
Thanks, Ozanai. That I think is quite of a challenging question that it asked there, considering that I think if you can look at the grandparents of this crop,
yes,
they're older than me. Like I told you that this type of vegetables, they don't have seeds.
Okay.
So that means they don't really what? Sprout.
But
and
the
produce
plant,
seeds.
say this plant, when can a farmer say it's now redundant? So, focus on the new area.
When it gets almost to my neck height, its production becomes
Depletes.
less. So what we normally recommend to farmers is to starve them a bit. That means you're withdrawing your water,
Your nutrients.
the nutrients, so that it kind of like it's drying off. Then when it's kind of like it's now wilting, you put a lot of nutrients, put a lot of water.
Then it rejuvenates itself.
It produces suckers.
Oh, okay.
Then that means you now cut the tip, you replant the tip, then the suckers, you replant the suckers.
You are getting into a fresh cycle.
You're getting into a fresh cycle. So I could normally maybe recommend you to just pick it for maybe 6 months,
Okay.
half a year, rejuvenate it. Because the older it gets, that means it produces,
the lesser leaves you get.
the ability to produce a new leaf, the speed at which or the rate at which it can produce a big leaf like this, it actually retards, considering that nutrients have to be translocated, or they have to travel
from the bottom,
from the bottom all the way
to the top.
to the top.
Oh,
So
okay.
it kind of takes a bit of time for you for those nutrients to move from the soil to the tip or to the leaves,
Okay.
as vis-a-vis these ones that are still
Young and developing.
and also the xylem and the phloem vessels, they're not yet damaged, because with the time you have a lot of pests and diseases that are coming in, and they actually destroy the vascular boundary that is your channel for your water and your nutrient movement. So with age, that means it's a lot of processes are being reduced, or they're being retarded at the rate at which they happen. That
Okay.
means we have to do what?
A new cycle.
You have to do a new cycle.
Okay, thank you so much, Tony, for that. It was very detailed and very kind of you to take your time to educate us in terms of Covo production, which is a low-hanging fruit from what you were explaining in this segment. On that note, we've come to the end of the second segment. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agriculture and New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. Now, today in this very episode, we have taken the liberty of looking at Covo production in Zimbabwe. Most Zimbabwean farmers, be it commercial, even some smallholder farmers, overlook the production of Covo. They look at it as zvinzvakasara or zvisiri productive or zvinovawestira time. But in this episode, we want to demystify and look at the importance of producing Covo within your enterprises as a Zimbabwean farmer. Now, if you encourage you to be a part of these conversations, feel free to get in touch with the producer Wadzanai Manyore on 0772807506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page Agribusiness with Wadzanai, make a follow-up on this episode and more, and leave your comments and suggestions. They are most welcome to us. Our YouTube channel is Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We're also now available on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's at Agribusiness 110, where most of these discussions and updates take place. We are here in the second segment. Tony, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes, looking at from the cycle, our cycle that we're looking at earlier on, from transplanting your seedlings or your suckers into the soil,
Yep.
and when can you expect your first harvest or your first reaping? What are those indicators that you look at to say, you know what, mashizha are ready for kukowa, I can have my first harvest, for starters? And secondly, I also want us to look at generally issues surrounding plant population. Generally, what are those indicators? We might not come up with a figure, an exact figure,
Okay.
but what are those indicators that you look at? Do you plant your Covo on ridges, on beds? What is it like for you, your recommendations to our Zimbabwean farmers?
Okay, I think firstly, there's one thing that I don't understand. Someone will just come in, take a sucker and put it on the ground. Then he will still continue with the same watering regime he was using. Maybe he was watering once a week. He will continue the once a week. And bearing in mind, there's what? A seedling that was just put in what?
In the soil,
In the
and there
soil.
is development taking place.
That means it won't get sufficient water, because these ones, they're now old. They can go for a week with one irrigation or two irrigations.
Okay.
But those small suckers that have been transplanted, they won't really survive in that. So the first thing that I actually encourage farmers to do, to actually harvest their suckers first, make a bed. that have all the nutrients.
Yes.
That means they have to put, if it's a compost, make a compost, put manure, make a big bed. So whenever you're harvesting new suckers, you're going to what?
To transplant fresh ones.
You're actually you're gonna take the suckers, dip them in the root media so that they can induce production of roots. Then you dip them, then plant them actually in that bed before you can transplant them into the main bed. So when you put them on that first bed, you're actually promoting the easy management for those suckers, so that
it's like a nursery.
Exactly, nursery. You can water them every day. You can give them nutrients so that they can develop roots fast, so that when you even transplant them into the main field, the chances of survival, they are just high.
Okay.
Unlike you just taking them from the main plant and doing plantings direct into the main field. That means there are low chances of survival. Hence, a lot of people who have those small gardens, because they are failing to nurse the small suckers. So I think if you can follow that procedure of going through the nursery first, then into your field, also the issue of nutrition in the nursery, you give them sufficient nutrients. Then when you are looking at the plant population for your viscose, it's quite a debatable one.
Yes.
Also, when you're looking at the type of irrigation that you're gonna be using, if you're gonna be using sprinkler irrigation, I think you're gonna have a bigger plant population as compared to when you are using drip. Because now we have to follow maybe there's
the measurements
on the drip. If you don't have enough water, now you're now forced to do 30 centimeters apart. But now when you are using your sprinkler irrigation, you can reduce your spacing to even 20 centimeters.
It covers everything.
It covers everything, so it can cover
quite a
wider range. Then even the walking path, they can be reduced.
Okay. Yes.
So that means you can achieve a higher plant population when you are using a sprinkler irrigation, up to maybe 100,000 per hectare.
Okay.
Of which now when you are using your sprinkler irrigation, your drip irrigation, is quite different, because you have to follow a certain pattern, and also the servicing for your drip, considering that we said this thing you can keep it for a year. So that means in that year you have a lot of job changing your drippers and doing this and this. Also monitoring is even difficult to even monitor. Plus we normally encourage farmers to do ridges when they are
planting their seedlings.
Yes, if they are using drip irrigation. But well, if you are using sprinkler irrigation, you can just do on
the working surface, straight on the ground.
Straight on the ground.
Okay.
Just plant without ridges. But when you are doing flooding, I think that's when you also need to do ridges, so that your water can just flow easily.
Okay.
So what we normally do to just reduce compaction of your soil when you're using sprinklers. That's when you come in with your mulching. You come and mulch your whole field. Also, it reduces evaporation. So that means you're also saving on your water. Actually, I have realized that most of the farmers, they now prefer using the bedding that comes from foreruns.
Oh, because it also has a nutritional component to eat.
So if you mulch with chicken manure,
you are protecting your plant from evaporation, at the same time having nutrients. Okay.
Because these are hungry for nitrogen. The more you put nitrogen, the more you get fresh leaves.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tony, for that, such a detailed presentation. On that note, we have come to the end of the second segment. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in that third and final segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. Today, we are looking at commercial Covo production, whereby farmers can take advantage of this crop and establish huge acreages of Covo to ensure that they are taking care of those miscellaneous at their farm. Be it someone gets sick, you can have money in your day-to-day coffers, you can be sending something to the market weekly or after 14 days. This is very important for our Zimbabwean farmers, because you need to have your financial finances and to keep your coffers afloat. Now, Tony, we are here in the third and final segment. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Now, looking at fertilizer application, the essential nutrients that are important when it comes to establishing your Covo. And there are also scenarios in our community whereby, even for myself, pandinoenda kunotenga Covo, ukaribika pane imwe Covo inobudisa mvura, pane imwe inoshata, you can actually test AN. Yes. Within the Covo you have cooked, but yes, there's also that Covo that is very delicious, that is very tasty. You can tell that they used organic manure. Can you talk to us in terms of fertilizer application? Do we have basal fertilizer? Do we have top dressing? Do we have supplements? What kinds of fertilizers can our Zimbabwean farmers take advantage of to ensure that they are producing a good looking leaf? Looking at this one, it's almost at arm's length, which means that it is well fed. Talk to us in terms of fertilizer application.
Okay, so this one is quite a debatable one, considering that most people, they prefer that original taste of the rape. So I think the best thing that you can do if you want to go commercial, even on your backyard, is to first do the fertility trenches.
Yes.
So when you're doing the fertility trenches, we are saying before you plant, you come in with you do your trenches, you come in with your compost, you come in with your manure, you can even come in with your compound fertilizers and mix them in a trench. Then you cover your trench. Then when you are planting, I normally prefer putting compound fertilizer when I'm planting, because compound fertilizer, they don't really contribute much to the taste, or it doesn't really alter much.
The original taste,
because considering that they are slow releasing.
Okay.
Unlike your AN, where you put it, the next week it's now working, everything is just,
and even the color, it can be deep green and the size will be unrealistic. You have huge leaves, whereby for a family of 5 you can actually just cook 3 or 2, which is abnormal. So I've tried to do my research around the Chomolia. That's when I found out that most of the farmers, they prefer using cow manure, chicken manure for top dressing. Then should there be no difference, or should the process be slow, they will come up with urea application. Instead of using ammonium nitrate that is fast releasing, they'll go for urea that is slow releasing. They put urea, but they don't put it in a closer intervals, because the moment you put urea on close intervals, that means you have high supply of nitrogen that will alter your taste. Because
now we are trying to chase the amount of leaves that you are going to send to the market, the amount of bunches that you're going to send to the market. So you come in with AN. So when you put a lot of AN, that means it's rapid growth, but there's no taste. It compromises on the taste, quality, on the final taste of the product.
Okay, now Tona, I want us to look at the most important issue also in Covo production. You would find that some of our Zimbabwean farmers, fully knowing kuti waka spray mu Covo yavo, sometimes yasara nezwa one chet rekuti Covo yoyo mshonga iwoyo upere simba expire. Munhu anongoita narote ma Covo because ari short on cash, oendesa mabhandle ake kana 1000 ku market anenge aine a bit of chemical residue. Can you advise our Zimbabwean farmers with the dangers that come with sending your crop fully knowing that this produce still has chemical residue that is toxic and can even amount to fatalities if consumed by our consumers, our local consumers who are looking to purchase your Covo? And even the repercussions or the fines that are associated with such malpractices.
So in short, I would say sending 1,000 bunches of Covo with chemicals, that's sending 1,000 families to the cemetery.
To death, yes.
We should avoid that at all costs.
Yes.
We shouldn't send any vegetables with chemicals, because no matter how much you wash it, the chemical doesn't
It's
go
in
away.
the system, it's in the veins.
We have what are called systematic chemicals that gets inside the crop and function from inside. So even if you wash it,
the crop,
the chemical still remains inside the crop,
and it becomes toxic to the end user.
And it might not, sometimes some chemicals that might not cause immediate death, but those are the same chemicals that are causing cancer. And that means
some diseases that are new in the society that are even not yet been discovered.
Because that chemical will be now thinking maybe you are a pest. So it's supposed to kill the what?
It is to attack.
Yes. So it needs to kill all the cells in the pest.
Yes.
So that's what happens. A lot of people are dying because of these chemicals.
And it might not even be traceable to say this
Yes.
is the farmer that supplied this family with this toxic chemical.
Considering that this much of this one is supplied to the open market,
Yes.
it might not be really traceable back to the supplier.
Okay.
But once they find you,
You are going to jail. Finally, Tony, as we close,
Yeah.
I want us to look at issues surrounding post-harvest maintenance and avoiding losses within your Covo enterprise. At times, varimano-pesira vakutofusha, vakutoita semufushwa as a way of curbing the losses. Just in a snippet, talk to us about issues surrounding market intelligence, market research, making your thorough investigation of what the market expects from you as a farmer who's producing Covo as we close.
okay, so I think the first one is the taste and preference. Like we are talking about the fertilizers and everything. I think that will play the first vital role in your marketing. Once you produce vegetables that are palatable, that are nice actually, that means you have a bigger market.
Yeah.
You can push your vegetables into the market.
Your reputation will speak for itself.
Yes. Then the other issue of that is your issue of aphids or other related pest and disease damages. If you produce something that have pests and
that is
pest damaged,
yes,
and you can see that there's powdery mildew, there's this and
there
this.
are aphids.
It's not really
Attractive to the customer.
That means at the end of the day you have losses. So now you'll be forced to take those vegetables, wait and fushwa, but aphids. So at the end of the day, it still goes back to
your production
systems, how you're supposed to affect everything. So I think the first thing that you need to address, that's the good agronomic practices, making sure that your field is clean, making sure that you produce vegetables that are nice, that are tasting good, not too much AN, not too much chemicals. I think once you do that, we really have a good market for vegetables, because I think on daily basis we have people buying
Covo daily,
so we can't really satisfy
the
market for Covo. And considering that, if you look, most of the times Covo is produced by small scale farmers.
Yes. If you go to they do it at large scale.
Yes, you won't really find a lot of commercial farmers saying, I have 5 hectares of
Covo.
But now when you try to calculate the numbers, these small scale farmers, they are actually making a living out of Covo.
Yes.
Because if you can harvest 1,000 bunches a week,
sending them for roughly $2 a huge bundle of Covo going for $1. And you have 1,000 bundles. That's even 500 bundles. That's $500 per week. Yes.
You see?
Yes.
You see what I'm talking about? So I think this is really a good enterprise. Should you take care of it, treat it as a business.
Yes. It's low maintenance. No huge capital injections required. Yes.
Actually, I always the problem with a lot of farmers. They will take capital from this side, then they try to put it somewhere. You're they come back again. I'm like, now like you have 2 wives, you are taking
money from this one, resources from this one, taking it to the other one. Yes. Thank you so much, Tony, for explaining to us in terms of this low-hanging fruit, Covo production, whereby we have farmers going up to an extent of per week sending either 500 bundles, which can even fetch $1 or even 50 cents, $250 US dollars per week.
In Bedbridge and Blawayo, just a small bunch like this is going for $3.
You see.
Yeah.
So this is a very low-hanging fruit with low maintenance and a low-cost driver when it comes to its production. From me, your host was Zanai Manyora. I'm also on Instagram. It's at Wadzi110 and the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.